Welcome back to Live from Paris. It's time now for business, and for that I'm joined by Matthew Warren. Hello again, Matthew.
Hi,
now, talks are starting in Brussels between the Chinese Premier and European leaders. What's likely to be on the agenda then?
Yes, that's right. They've just been starting now, actually, and there are some thorny trade disputes going on at the moment between China and the EU. One of those is on solar panels. Allegations from some countries that Chinese firms have been selling them at too lower cost in Europe. Another one is linked to alleged illegal subsidies for two leading makers of mobile phone technology, although the Financial Times is reporting this morning that that investigation has been stalled. But trade between the EU and China is really important. It was worth 430 billion euros in 2011. But a weak European Union, of course, is hurting Chinese trade at the moment. Exports from China to the EU were down 12.7% in August. We also had figures this morning showing that manufacturing is continuing to slow in China. Now, this is the PMI index. We get these figures every month. The thing to look for here when we see these numbers is it above or below 50? If it's above 50, that means things are growing and expanding. As you can see here, in September, it was 47.8. That means that manufacturing continuing to slow down in China. And in another sign as well that global trade is indeed slowing, a report out on Wednesday said that container shipping lines lost $5 billion in 2011, and a slowing Chinese economy is at the heart of this. Let's take a listen.
The shipping industry is in a state of deep trouble at the moment, definitely because of slowing down of the Chinese economy. We've seen the Chinese imports falling by around 2.6% year on year, which tells you that not enough iron ore, not enough coal, not enough oil is coming to the country. At the same time, the exports are down by 2.7%, which tells you that not many finished goods are getting exported out of China.
Also, some data out on Japanese trade.
Yeah, let's give you the numbers on the Japanese trade deficit, which was at 754 billion yen or 7.35 billion euros for the month of August. Well, as well as the slowing economy, the strong Japanese yen is also a major drag on exporters, as our Tokyo correspondent reports.
When he built this aluminium plant 5 years ago, Yoichi Marumo never thought he would one day move abroad. Today, the Honda and Toyota supplier is moving part of his firm's production to Thailand and is also considering opening a plant in India.
Many of my clients went abroad, especially to China, India, Thailand, and Vietnam. These car makers now need components that are manufactured in the same place as the vehicles.
Japanese car plants produced 9 million vehicles domestically in 2011, compared to 12 million in 2008. That represents a massive exodus of production. Now more than half of Japanese cars are made abroad. This consultant is visiting Marumo's plant to help Gunma Seiko organize its move overseas.
Recently, highly competitive products have appeared on the export market, such as South Korea's Hyundai. Japanese car makers are not invincible anymore. Furthermore, because of high yen, Japanese cars have become too expensive if they are exported from Japan.
Tougher competition and declining car sales in Japan have contributed to the shift. In addition, car makers have been forced to look overseas by the strong yen, which has risen 30% against the US dollar in the last 3 years.
In spite of the yen's rise, car makers don't have the option of raising their prices for consumers abroad. They have a choice: either cut production costs or sell overseas at a loss.
Against all expectations, employment at automakers in Japan has not suffered as a result of mass relocation, and salaries have remained stable. In the first half of this year, Toyota regained its position as the world's biggest car producer for the same period.
And how the market's looking, Matthew?
Well, let's take a look at Europe. Markets, of course, just opening, and they're opening slightly down this morning. We got some more of that PMI data as well, like we saw for China. Here in France, the picture's worsening. The figure for September down to 44.1. Over in Asia, markets have closed, and data out of Japan showing that trade deficit that we talked about sent markets there lower as well.
Moving on to widespread disruption in India over recent plans to let foreign retailers in.
Yes, protesters not happy about those economic measures and have been out in force today. Railway lines were blocked, markets were closed as well, shops closed. A rise in the diesel prices also on the cars. As you can see from these pictures, strong protests over that.
And Spain is looking to raise funds today?
Yes, Spain back in the bond markets, and these are the longer-term 10-year bonds as well as some 3-year bonds, 3 to 4.5 billion euros. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that to see how that goes and what they have to pay. Meanwhile, of course, 1 in 4 people in Spain are unemployed, and that's making it even more important for them to limit their spending. Well, one area that seems to be booming is the second-hand market.
Searching for a good deal. The country is in its second recession in 3 years, and taxes are on the rise. Tough times that have shifted consumer habits.
Some of our customers used to only come to donate clothing, but now they shop here as well.
With consumers in a pinch, retail sales have dropped for the second straight year. Unemployment is at nearly 25%, and sales tax jumped to 21%. The trend of shoppers looking for second-hand goods extends to the showroom floor. 70% of cars sold in Spain are second-hand, and half the cars in the country are more than 10 years old. Since the crisis began, this dealership changed its inventory to include more affordable cars.
People used to be able to buy a car more easily, they'd get loans easily and go into debt. Nowadays they prefer to buy a car that's a bit cheaper and pay for it up front.
Spain's public sector is facing layoffs and pay cuts. Ines Serrano hopes to save as much as 7,000 euros buying a used car.
I am affected by the cuts because I'm a civil servant and I need the car for work and I need to change it relatively frequently.
Consumer confidence is down and there are frequent protests over the government's handling of the crisis. Madrid aims to slash 65 billion euros from the country's 2014 budget with tough austerity measures, making some in the retail industry think the trend towards second-hand goods is likely to continue.
Well, now for some of the day's company news. And Rupert Murdoch's Sky B can keep its UK broadcasting licence. The British regulator has cleared the company of any wrongdoing. That investigation followed the hacking scandal at Murdoch-owned newspapers.
Lufthansa is planning a new low-cost brand. The service will carry around 18 million passengers a year. No name has been agreed for the airline, which will launch next year. Lufthansa has recently been hit by a series of cabin crew strikes. It's also in the middle of a €1.5 billion cost-cutting programme. And to end with, the wealth of the richest people in America grew faster than the overall economy last year.
Yes, that's right. Now, Forbes has identified the 400 richest people in America, and their worth grew by 13%, $1.7 trillion. Now, those 400 people are worth 12.5% of the total US GDP, which is incredible. Now, the top of the list is headed by Bill Gates. That's the same as last year. I thought
Oprah Winfrey there.
Oprah Winfrey is one of those. She's not in the top 10. But I thought I'd point out, because we perhaps should feel a little bit sorry for Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook.
Feel sorry for him? How come?
He's lost $8 billion of his worth, dropping from 14th to 36th place. But let's not feel too sad. He's still worth $9.4 billion.
So I don't feel too sorry.
He's got a bit
for
left
him.
in the piggy bank.
I think he'll be all right.
I think he will be too.
Thank you very much, Matthew, for that run through the business. And thank you for watching. Do stay tuned to France 24.
They're two giants of the literary world and millions of euros are at stake. In Beyond Business, we're comparing France's Prix Goncourt with Britain's Man Booker Prize. There are accusations the race for the Prix Goncourt is rigged in a few publishers' favour.
Don't miss Beyond Business, Saturday 10:15 a.m. Paris time on France 24.